Hey everybody, welcome. It's the Star in Focus podcast, and I'm your host, Deanna Oaks. Today we have with us Jayne Konkel, who's on the Star board. How are you, Jayne?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well also. Thank you for being here. You bring to the table your voice writing expertise, which is fascinating to me. I hear people say stenography is fascinating all the time, but voice writing is so super duper cool. So, how did you even get into voice writing?
Oh, that's a good way to start this. So I actually tried machine writing for 2 years, and then when that was not going as fast as I needed it to, I had contacted the schools that I need to drop out, and they said, "Well, have you ever heard of voice writing?" And this was back in 2012. And I said, "No, what's that?" And they said, "Well, it's this kind of thing where you can do what Steno Machine does, but you're doing it with your voice, and it's supposed to be a lot faster to learn." And so I always need to research things before I jump off into something because they had a class with a sister school that taught it, but I was not ready to like just jump over. So I interviewed the clerks at the local courts, and one happened to be a friend of my mother-in-law. So that was really nice and comfortable to be able to ask her. And she's like, "Oh yeah, we have those." And she don't have them all the time, but they were used to them because I had heard about how there was differences and
Right.
the kind of work that they can get, and sometimes the environments are not welcoming for them. But anyway, so that's when I kind of decided, I can do this. It would give me the best chance to get into the court reporting, which I absolutely wanted to be in. I have a background in military police and dispatching 911 and being in the jail, the corrections officer. So
What?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So I knew this was where I would want to be.
Yeah.
But I just didn't know what that journey was going to be like, especially we had a young family and one income and managing those things a lot of people do. So
Yeah.
yeah. But after that, about 2014, I went and started voice writing school, and I graduated in 2016. And um, let's see, so much has happened. It's hard to like fit it in a small like time slot,
Right, right, right.
right?
Yes.
So we moved while I was in school from Texas to Iowa. Iowa was not a voice friendly state, and at that time there was no remote court reporting. This is prior COVID, so I went into captioning and loved it. Totally shocked me how much I loved it, and I just love the environment. I love the users, the personalities, and the reasons I get to be there in a room and being an ear for someone that can't hear or maybe English isn't their first language. So that's kind of where my journey took me after school. And then a couple of years later, I went out on my own as a captioner. So, and that was in 2019.
That is amazing. Well, congratulations. It's obviously been a minute. You're very seasoned in
Uh,
the, independent contractor world, but that's quite a journey. And especially in the face of adversity,
mm-hmm.
especially when you've had, roadblock after roadblock, which is what another thing that I find really rewarding about this career is it is challenging. You probably know, I tell everybody, it took me so long to graduate, like embarrassingly long, but there's just something about not giving up that's so rewarding and just so
Mm-hmm.
it just strengthens your inner core, where you're just like,
Yes.
I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
do it. I'm gonna figure it out somehow, And so kudos to you for doing that. And now you travel all over, right? Or do you have roots?
We're getting roots and we're traveling. We've been traveling since 2019 and the later on part after I started independently working. But I just want to back up a little bit. You had said, that I'm seasoned. I don't know if others feel this way, but even though I've been around for just a minute compared to some people in the industry, I feel like there's always so much changing and so much learning to do constantly and so much pivoting with whether it's technology or clients or where you get work from or new environments or updates to your computer and then changes. And I
Yeah.
just feel like there's always something. I always feel like a newbie, and I don't know if others feel that way. I'm settled into it, but I still have a lot of learning I'm constantly doing. I don't think that ever stops.
Sure.
Uh,
Well, I think that that's a beautiful way to approach it, right? It's a humble sort of way that you're just constantly open to new things and not, feeling arrogant or overconfident. But I also do think that, there's a very real sort of imposter syndrome that we all kind of have, or maybe not all, I shouldn't speak for everybody else, but I know a lot of people that are just like, I'm literally 41 and I feel like a child,
yeah, yeah,
How do I own this home? I don't understand. I don't even know. You know what I mean? Like things just happen so fast and it's like we don't have time to process it. And then because like you said, it's always changing. Even just our software alone. There's so many new tips, which I am very grateful for, but it's just, yeah, it's constantly new things and new words and all that sort of stuff. So it keeps us on our toes, but you are not alone, girl. Like
right.
that is,
Okay.
that is a common thread, I feel like, in our and not just our profession, but I mean, you stuck with it and you do great things. And so, as a captioner, do you generally work one on one or do you do a lot of like, like television broadcaster? I don't even know if that's a thing anymore, but you know what I mean? Network broadcasting.
That's a super question because it's changed over the years for me. And I feel like the more that I'm able to do, the more ability I have to get work as far as how far my reach can go and what I'm comfortable in doing. So when I first started out, I started out in broadcast and news and just basic TV shows. And then so I worked within a large firm. At the time, they were Caption Colorado, and they would do quality control weekly, monthly, and keep on top of all those things. And then that's how you advanced within. And then after that period with them for 2 years, where I got kind of a taste and see of everything and got comfortable with those processes and understood the environment and how to work with clients and where my boundaries are as a captioner versus what the agency would need to be taken care of. So I
Right.
think that gave me the confidence to go out on my own. Thankfully, I didn't fall on my face, and I was. It's I don't. There's no one journey is the same, but I was so afraid that I always had to have a backup plan. So when I called Stenograph and I got my software, I said, what's my plans B, C, D if I can't make that payment? And then that made me more comfortable. So you could freeze the payments, and then you just wouldn't be able to use the software once that time period of not paying for it. All those things. So
Sure.
just the logistics. Once you get those things figured out, and you just keep moving forward. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
That's really what it is, right? It's one foot
yeah,
in front of the other. And even if you
hmm
do fall on your face, because plenty of us have, we just
hmm
get back up again, right? And
yeah, yeah.
that's what else do you do? Especially as a mom, you have how many kids?
4.
Which is a lot of kids. Like that's a big accomplishment. What a beautiful family.
Speaking of that, when I first started, I had a 3, 2, and 1 year old, and when I started in school, and then by the time I started captioning after I graduated from school, I had our fourth one, and I was nursing and working at the same time. So there was um, all kinds of things going on in the home, and that it it was such a blessing, to be honest. It allowed me to put my family first and my priorities first, um, and then I could work. So
Yeah. Teaches us time management and prioritization and all that stuff, which I feel like is
mhm.
something that I still struggle with, to this day. But yeah, how lovely. And I mean, just to be quite frank, as grateful and joyful as it is, to have a family and all of that, it's a lot of work, girl. Like that's a lot that's taxing on you, right? Nursing is not something that you can have any real help
Right,
your partner. You know what I mean? Like
right,
it's really in demand. So, I mean, kudos to you. It's a huge accomplishment. Um,
right.
so yeah, I hope you feel so just joyous looking back on the journey and where you are now. So what would you tell other people that maybe want to go into voice writing?
I would say definitely do your due diligence and ask questions and find your network, find people that have done it, find um, people like you and that aren't like you. as far as the things that might be challenges for you to get through school. Um, and I think like job shadowing doesn't hurt, as even if you're not ready to go and be the voice writer in the courtroom or in your high speeds, I think shadowing is still a good opportunity to learn and be able to ask questions and be forward thinking and thinking ahead of the game of where you're at.
Yeah, definitely. It's so funny because you had said like you're the type of person that does all of this research and whatever. I am the complete opposite. I literally just jump without even thinking. Yeah, it's terrible. I
I
mean,
wish I was more like that sometimes, but yeah.
I don't know. I think doing your research is certainly the more is it mature thing to do? But yeah, I would agree with you that there's definitely something to be said about being completely educated before taking on any big thing, especially because like for me, my student loans are
Hmm.
wild. So even
Yeah.
like that, it's like they say nowadays people will change careers like 3 times. I'm at the point where I'm like, should I just go back to school so I can defer these loans?
Yeah.
Which is a terrible idea because then you just add more money to your loans. But yeah. Oh my goodness. So I feel like you and I could just chat forever. But we have Unity Summit coming up, and we actually have not met in person yet. So I'm very excited to do that.
Hmm.
What are
Yes.
you most excited for at Unity Summit?
To like hug everybody that I've been talking to online and just have those conversations that they always feel so much different in person than on a computer. So, um, and some of the topics that are on the agenda and the speakers, I just think there's nowhere else that those things could happen than at the Unity Summit. And especially a lot of the people that are on the presenters list to speak, they'll be from different methods and they'll be from different work experiences, and I think they're gonna come together and blend together very well. I've never seen anything like that, so I'm so excited about it.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. Last year, I mean, we didn't even have the benefit of having AAERT, but we had, an inclusive conference and did the show and tell, and people loved it. And it's just a real good feeling, that people want to see unity and they want to be educated, right? Like they want to know what is actually out there. And so
Right.
that's, our job is to spread the gospel, if you will. So yeah, it's gonna be great. I'm very excited to see it. It's always so refreshing and invigorating. I feel like I use the word invigorating too much, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, and the walls kind of come down
Yeah.
when we're all together, because it's okay to have these conversations and not be attacked for having those conversations, and just to try to keep the skilled human in the process as long as we can. And how do we do that, and how do we not do that, is
Yeah.
as much important as how we do it. So
Yeah. So you had said that you went to Iowa and it was not a what's it called, a voice writing friendly
yeah.
state.
Hmm.
So what kind of roadblocks did you run into?
So as a voice writer, that's a great question. As a voice writer, we only have certain states that we can work in as far as our certification is recognized, or our method is recognized. It's in the legislation, it's in the court rules that we can capture the record. So there, at the time, Iowa wasn't, but thankfully, last year they did include voice writers now. So voice writers are now in Iowa. So that was a blessing, because that was able to get some voice writers in Iowa and fill some of those spots. Um, but there's still a few more states. They've really done a great job covering ground. The ones who led the way before me, and that are involved in the MVRA and the legislation process and throughout the states. I don't know as much of the details there. I wouldn't be the best for those kind of things, but I know that there's charts and there's figures and everything on the MVRA website if someone was interested to see where a voice writer can work.
Okay. And maybe even like, is there information about their trailblazing, about how they got into the legislation, or maybe that's not the right terminology, but how they were able to have some conversations with legislators and sort of spread the word and showcase the talent and
I
skills.
know, yeah, I as far as people that would talk about it, there's people that are in the membership now, and then there's retired members that I know would be more than happy to kind of have those conversations. So that would be an awesome subject to talk about at some point. Um, but as far as my knowledge of how those things happened, I don't know what it took, other than I know that there was demonstrations, there was machine writers in the room, there was environments that were not friendly at all, did not probably want them there, and
Yeah.
so they went there knowing that they were facing all these barriers. But as soon as people see we're using cat software, we're able to use our voice commands. Some of what we say is English, but some of it's a voice, like how a steno machine would use briefs. We use voice commands. So I'll say PIRC for my periods or SPMAC for my speaker IDs. And
Okay.
then, and I should have, it would have been a great time to give an example of that. I didn't even think to do that. Maybe I can do that. Um,
Well, I mean, people got to come to the summit to see
that's
it.
right. That's
But
right.
I do think that is very cool, and we should have just like because I'm sure we could take up just an hour talking about how these things your brief forms and how it actually works or whatever. But it's super cool.
I think people are really shocked when the mask comes off for those who write with a mask, that when they hear what's actually going through the mask, then it's the kind of light bulb moment, like, oh, okay, like I get it now. It's not just simply speaking English into a mask. There's a
Right.
lot more going on
Right.
to it.
Because if you
So,
say period, that's the word period, right?
hmm,
Especially in the English language, which is just bananas, like
yeah. Yeah.
my favorite example is that we park on driveways and drive on parkways.
Yeah.
I just feel so bad for people that are trying to learn English because it makes no sense in so many ways.
Yes.
Yeah, I would really
Yeah.
like to find out whose idea it was to have some of these words, but anyways, so what are you the most proud of in the journey that, whatever, it's been 10 years almost since you started. Looking back, do you have any moment that you're just like, this was something that changed everything for me?
When I stepped out and started helping others, I think is really rewarding to hear unprompted feedback from the people that I've been able to mentor or talk to. Uh, and they just say, thank you. I can't imagine anyone else that would have been able to do this with me, or would have spent the time with me to go through these things and explain it. And I've learned so much. I've been inspired, or they're now out working and they're making an income. Like I have relatives that saw what I was doing and asked, and then I pointed them in the direction and mentored them all the way through. So, um,
Wow.
it's kind of it's a neat journey to be able to be blessed, but also have that blessing where you can give it to someone else, almost, because a lot of people don't hear about court reporting or know what a court reporter is, or even the
Yeah,
voice writing. So
yeah. No one knows what we do.
yeah. Yeah.
Right? Do you feel like it's kind of isolating? You're just
Hmm.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that is so wonderful. There is really a lot of value in mentorship. And being a student is so hard. I mean, just in general, as a student, but certainly I felt like one of my biggest challenges is because I am a social person and I thrive on the energy of other people. And it was so isolating. It was just
Yeah.
almost daunting. It
Hmm.
was sad trying to get through school, but because I went online. So
Yeah.
it was just all by myself. You know what I mean? And so it was just
I totally relate. Yeah.
right? And
Hmm.
then, yeah, and then you feel so insecure that mentorship is just wonderful. It's really, really a great thing to be able to offer to your community. And I'm sure you've made lifelong relationships, people that are
Absolutely. Yeah.
cool. That's
Yeah.
really cool. Any of your mentees coming to the summit?
Um, I think I have one coming, actually. Yes. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yep.
I love that.
Yes. Hmm.
Oh, how cool. And this is your first STAR conference, right?
Yes. Hmm.
Nice. And with the AAERT collaboration, it's going to be out of this world. I'm so, so thrilled about it for sure. But I hadn't even heard about STAR until, I don't know, like 2020 or something, which is not that long ago, maybe like
Hmm.
2019. But I feel like it's always been kind of, I don't know. It's just been a different environment. You know what I mean? It's just been like a really easy, but also really valuable. The things that we learn at the conferences are there's a lot of technology, there's a lot of just growth and networking that's just really exciting and is just it draws you in, so I'm so looking forward to seeing how it grows and changes, and having you on board has been wonderful. You've been doing the fireside chats, which is great. How's that?
Hmm. It's going great. More response than we expected, and it's growing. We have one March 26th, 2025, and I am so excited for it. We have almost double the registrations already, and we're still 3 weeks away. So that will be amazing. I it's the next one's going to be with certified Senograph and Eclipse trainers, so that's going to be exciting. They're going to bring all the technology and talk about real team environments, working with court reporters and proofreaders, and everybody as a team live. They're going to be able to touch on those subjects, and it's only going to be an hour with them. So I know that they can't get through everything, but I think it's going to be so much information that I think it will really benefit the entire court reporting, proofreading, editing, student, educator
The whole
community.
community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And I mean, this is your baby. This is something that you just decided to do and have blown it away. Like you must feel so proud of that, right?
I could not have done it without the phenomenal women on my committee. I don't want to cut any of that short because but yes, it's been a vision I've had and they've helped carry it through, but at the same time they've added so much to it that I didn't have originally. So it's just together, and that's another thing in the star environment. When we get together, it's is so much collaboration and conversation about what to do next and what's needed in the communities and how we include everyone while we do that. That's always the conversation, is how do we make sure we get everyone included, because we don't want others to be left out, and we don't other want anyone to be not educated or to lose an opportunity to be educated. So
Right.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's been really cool. And I am looking forward to it. I am definitely registered. And yeah, 1 hour is so fast. There's just so much information out there, but that's great because then you leave us all wanting more, So it's perfect. It's going to be a wonderful experience, definitely. I did see the last one, but the certified trainers on this one, I'm very excited about. They have a lot of clout, those certified trainers.
That's right. There's different things we're trying to offer as far as educational content online on the star website. That's going to be coming soon this year, and we're also kind of collaborating a little bit with AERT. We're still separate, but our webinars are every other month. So they're going to have an educational webinar, and then we get to have one, and then they'll have one the next month. Some are free, some are paid, CEs not. So it's just kind of depending on the material, but yeah,
Yeah.
very exciting. Mm-hmm.
It is. It's really exciting. And did you feel like it was easy for you to engage the team of people that you have, or did you struggle reaching out and asking for help? What was that like?
No struggle at all. And the communication and the time we have together is so enriching and so empowering. And I would say my network, just being with these smaller committees and then kind of branching out with AERT a little bit, and then with some of the people on the committee and the people they know, it's opened up a whole new world for me that I have never been exposed to around other voice writers. So I think just the variety and the diversity that's coming to these meetings and that's involved in these conversations, it's not happening anywhere else. So it's been amazing. and it's so much respect for each other and the conversations and making sure everybody's viewpoints are incorporated into whatever we're planning. It's amazing. It's peaceful. We laugh together. We check on each other after the meetings. Like there's a cordial friendship almost. So I am it's I feel it's genuine, and I am just really glad to spend my time here with Star.
That's so lovely. Like, what a
Yeah.
beautiful, heartwarming story. Really, really
It's
great.
so true. I'm that's how I operate. I gotta have that meaningful connection with people, and it's happening, and it's never stopped. It started from the second I joined, and it's just growing all the time. And I can't wait to see what else is coming in the future.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just hearing you talk about it is exciting, it
Yeah.
gets in your blood. So what about as a voice writer? Because you're the only one on the board of Star, the only voice writer on the board. Were you on other boards before?
So I did just a short stint of volunteer work with the NVRA Education Committee. I have not been on any other boards before, and I'm just a part of other associations, but this has been like my first kind of board type of um,
Engage.
activity. Yeah,
Yeah,
engagement. Yeah.
feels like you were born for it. You are correct. For sure, definitely. Um,
I, yeah, it's been really amazing to see how welcome we as voice writers have been in this environment. And then when I am shy to say something in whatever conversation is going on, like I'm not sure how they'll receive it or if this is the right time, all those things that can happen. Sorry, I'll pull the shade down. Um, all those things that can happen to make me hesitate on giving input. It's usually someone's like, well, what do you think, Jayne? And I mean, that's the kind of conversation we have. And then I say it, and it's a relief off my chest. Everybody knows now, and it's always received with good positivity type interaction. There's nothing I could probably say in this environment to move us forward or meant to move us forward that would be taken in a bad way. So it's really encouraging.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same about, right? Like the energy you give is the energy oftentimes, right, that you receive. And so I think that that's just something that you're probably putting out there and maybe don't even realize. And that's why you've knocked it out of the park with these committees and stuff. Um, did you know that like you wanted to do more, sort of outreach volunteer type work, or was that just something that fell in your lap?
Actually, how it started was another voice writer um, had referred me to our president, Andrea, and Andrea didn't know me before, and we got together and had a little interview and talked about things in the industry. And she knew, I could tell she knew right away that she was more than happy to have met me and wanted to work with me. And I couldn't resist because she's so lovable and so lovely and so high energy, and so we just do really well together. And I felt like that was really a good place for me to come and represent voice where we haven't been before, and in that kind of environment where we can really move forward together.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, we need more voice writers, right? We need our
Absolutely.
right, our representation. We want to have people, on the board, right? We walk the walk or talk the talk. We want to walk the walk. So I think it's been incredibly meaningful to have, your perspective on things.
I
And
would, yes, I would love to have more voice writers that would be interested in being a part and involved in Star, because my voice, as for voice writers, I know that that's not covering everything that needs to be covered, and I'm just doing the best I can. So the more voice writers we could have that would be interested, I would welcome that kind of conversation to happen. So yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
well, hopefully, with this collaboration, hopefully we're growing and just getting more exposure and wrapping our arms around more and more friends and members. And, I mean, that's what it's
Mhm.
all about, right? So it's got
Yeah.
to start somewhere. Okay, so we have the upcoming. Well, what are you most excited for at Unity Summit? Is there a session that you think is like the most valuable to voice or even to your peers?
I think that um, the most valuable to the industry will be, again, the demonstration with the three methods.
Yeah.
Um, our keynote is about trust and technology. Like the that alone, most people don't want to put those two things together
Sure.
between
Yeah.
how do you trust the different aspects versus the technology that's out there. And I think that's going to be super interesting to hear that presenter's perspective on what he would say on that. So
Yeah.
the luau on Saturday night, I'm kind of excited for that.
Yeah. I'm like, I
So
need a grass skirt immediately.
yeah.
For sure. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. And that's what I really like about Star too, is that like there's always something fun. It's always there is an event at every, and there are a lot of most associations have some sort of social event, but I don't know, there's just something just like I said, it's inclusive, like the very
Mhm.
first star event that I went to was local. And so I didn't have to stay at the hotel, but people were like, no, you have to come to this, like it was like
Yeah.
in someone's room or whatever. And I don't know, it's just like very cool. Yeah, the luau is going to be a good time for sure. And being in Universal, you have all the kids. Are you guys doing anything fun? Like, as
Uh,
are you taking them to one of the parks or anything?
mentally, I'm already there, but we're gonna when we get there, we'll probably look at tickets and see what we're gonna do. Since we do RV travel, we'll have a little bit of time while we're there to kind of manage those other aspects once the conference is over.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. One thing at a time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I
Yeah.
totally get that for sure.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's anywhere else I'd rather be than Hogwarts, It's just
Right.
yeah, maybe Disney World, but those two places.
Right, right.
Absolutely.
And in Florida, like the location just gives me butterflies because sunshine, people there like are always happy, I think. And I love that. So I just Florida sunshine and learning. I just
Yeah,
it'll be good.
it will absolutely be good. So are you gonna stay in Florida for a little while then, or what's your path afterwards? How do you even decide where you're gonna go next? Are you guys just you pick this place on the map? How does that work?
Sometimes we do. Sometimes we actually start the engine and still have no idea where we're going.
Oh God, I love that. That is amazing.
Yeah, it's good. When we first started out traveling, I didn't know a lot about. So that's another aspect with traveling and working is
Yeah.
trying to figure out will my internet work where we get now in current time we have Starlink and that's always been dependable. But in the beginning when we started out, I had AT&T, I had Verizon, and I had T-Mobile. And my husband does IT technology, has a bachelor's degree in it, loves that stuff. So he kind of takes care of it, but he's doing a lot of tethering and tying and things together in the network. So he makes that happen. And I research it before we get there. And then when we get there, we test it. And um, so that was when we were moving about every 2 weeks, and we've covered 47 states. And yeah, and the kids have had a homeschooling experience because I have this job. Otherwise, I don't think there would have been a possibility for us to be able to. And this is like a unicorn story. So this isn't like, you graduate from voice writing, you can go out and travel the world easily. There's so many logistics to it. So I don't want to give that false impression that it's that easy, but it can happen. So
And I
mhm.
mean, I think that now in, this day and age, it's much more possible than, it was even 5 years ago before
Absolutely.
so many of us went remote. But it's still exciting. And I think that it just goes to, what we were talking about earlier. It's like the drive. If you want to do it, if you want to make it happen, you can do it. Whereas like I couldn't be a bartender and move around. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I do think that that is something that's really um unique about our job, and maybe not unique so much anymore because so many people do work remotely, but it's definitely not a blanket. There are definitely people that still have to go in. And so I do love that about our job. I'm actually more going in person more often now, this last probably 6 months, and I kind of don't like it.
Yeah.
I just want to be in my socks all the time. But so when was the last time you had to go in person?
I have never been in person.
Okay, because you've just been captioning.
Yep. And so now in the last year or so, I've been working on going back for my court reporting skills and getting my certifications, which the hat you wear as a captioner is different than the hat you wear as a court reporter. And I can only speak that way with the knowledge of what I was taught in school, and then getting to the point where I could do the 225 Q&A and the things that you would have to pass for like your written knowledge and your literary and your Q&A. But as far as a real life work experience as a court reporter, I don't have that, but I am looking to go after that in the next year. And I think that will probably be kind of in between remote work and local on-site work.
Okay. And
So
what's the reason, just to have variety? I mean, is it a different skill set or is it a different certification?
so it's a different certification because like your cart captioning certification is 22 and a half minutes, speeds variable up to 225. And you have to include like your sounds. So the purpose of a captioner is you're the ears for someone. So you're capturing those nuances, and it's more about readability than the technicality of the transcript.
Yeah.
Whereas, and then when I'm done with the transcript, I'm maybe working out some issues that maybe were in the software, but for the most part, I don't have to sit and do a transcript for hours on end.
Right.
Yeah.
Hours on end, girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
You are
Yep.
not kidding.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, it's crazy. Even when I'm like, dude, I nailed this. I had no misstrokes. Like, it is beautiful. I'm like, how am I 5 hours into production?
Yeah.
What is going on? But
Yep.
you are so right about the nuances. I obviously don't caption, so I had forgotten though that it's everything, right? Like they said it aggressively, or they said it, every laughter. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Like all of those little kinds of the door closes or whatever, which is really, really cool. But also adds, I feel like, a lot more to what you're trying to capture, right?
Yes, and there's another aspect to captioning where you can paraphrase as long as you don't lose meaning. So that's kind of a skill when you're listening to someone speak and trying to re-speak it at the same time. There's a lot going on in the mind.
Yeah.
You would only use that to catch back up to the speaker, but for the most part, we're verbatim when we're captioning too. It's just there might be moments where you would paraphrase as long as you don't lose that meaning. But yeah,
Yeah.
there's different thought processes behind it, and so I found myself going back and getting my certification. It was kind of like turning that switch off and kind of refreshing and kind of digging back into my court reporter knowledge and things I had forgotten, things I get rusty on. And like, it's, like just like machine, if you don't keep the skill, then you lose it. And
Yeah. Yeah. When somebody goes on, for 9 pages in a monologue, I'm like,
yeah.
uh, please don't speak faster than 181, sir. Yes, it is definitely different. Jury charge, all those they're different segments. And so they have different,
Yeah,
skill sets, I guess, is really,
really. Yeah. Hmm.
I am a brief enthusiast though. Like which is why I don't write real time. I mean, some of them, I'm not kidding, are like 5 or 6 different different phrases with one stroke. It's crazy. But like, I just don't want to have to write that. You know what I mean? Are you the same?
Yes. So like in the beginning of most of my work, I put like a kind of a disclaimer that it's cart captioning and it's not always verbatim type of thing.
Okay.
And it's real time. And I'll just say title Mac, and then that paragraph will pop up on the screen for
Okay,
my
perfect.
users.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Just easy enough.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the same thing, just with our voice.
Right,
Yeah.
which is just the coolest. Do you use the mask or do you just use a mic?
So I can use both, but when I'm at home working remotely, I can use the open mic and that's fine. But when I'm tested and when I go on site, I need to be able to use the mask. And so that's where that
And that's
skill comes in. Mm-hmm.
and that's just because of the sound around you, right? You're not doing anything differently.
It's what it's doing is it's keeping your voice from escaping that mask so that it's not disrupting what's going on in the room. It's
Okay.
covering your voice. So
Okay.
yep. So here is my little fancy
Love it.
bag,
Yes.
and it's just a makeup bag and it carries my mask in it. So I'll pull that out here real quick just to show what I have going on. So this is my Martell mask. It's it's got two cords on it because one goes to, they're kind of tangled up right now, but there's two cords on it, and one goes to my computer and then one either hangs free or it could go into like a recorder to as a backup of my voice notes. So
Sure.
so like a machine has their machine notes, we have our voice notes. So
Okay.
that second cord would be the backup. And then when we plug that in and our voice goes through the mask, so then basically when I'm speaking here, I'll give a shot at it so you can see how it covers up my sound.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very muffled.
and
Oh
and
yeah.
my and my mic's right here, so you might hear some of it, but
Yeah, that's incredible. Wow.
so yeah, that's how that covers the sound when we go on site. And you are able to use this skill with the mask on site and do captioning too. So it's not like it's just for court reporting. You could use it in like a classroom and caption for a student or something like that. So
Is
yeah,
that something that you would ever be interested in doing?
I'm thinking about it. Yes, there's actually lately I see more on-site work again, so I'm thinking it's something that I should be kind of developing my skills a little bit more in my comfort zone, branching out a little bit and doing that too. So like I was saying, like you learn broadcast, you learn science subjects, you learn art, you learn how to do plays, you learn how to script, you learn so many different things, and just being able to use your mask is just one of those other next step components that you could use to advance how much work you can get. So
Right. So what is doing clays? What does that mean?
um sorry, plays.
Oh, plays. No, I
Sorry.
just heard you wrong. So
Okay.
I was like, clay. I'm thinking you're, but
Yeah,
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, no, the car always, I thought was fascinating because you basically get free education and no homework.
Right.
That's definitely where I want to live. That sounds
Yes.
awesome for sure. And see, this is the beautiful thing about our profession is that there's just so much opportunity, which is so
Mm-hmm.
crazy. The irony that there's so much opportunity in this profession, and yet you have so many people that are just like living in fear,
Mm-hmm.
of
Yep.
losing their job, which I get it. Fear is real and very powerful, and no shame for people for having fear, but it's just like, but you don't have to. You could just take the opportunity, though. That's just kind of how I think of it. And it sounds like you are crushing it at the opportunity. And um, so as NVRA, they are a certifying body. What is the testing like? Do you have to go? You don't have to go on site, do you?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You do?
So for the court reporting test, it is on site, and that's like your first level court reporting. I'm going to say that's not what it's called. It's the CVR. You go on site for that one because they're listening for your sound, and you get, it's a certain process for them. But when they are walking around the room while you're taking the test, if they can hear you, they tap you or they wave, however they do it. You get two times, and then I think it's the second time you're out of the test.
If the mask isn't, if you're not using the mask right, essentially.
That, or if you're just speaking so loud, like you can, your nerves are so ramped up during a test anyway, so you're going to be louder. And then,
Yeah.
and it's just controlling those things. And when you get there on during the test, and you're testing, because it can distract other testers, right? So I don't, what I've heard is that sometimes it's comparable to like the sound of a machine writer on their machine with their keys, like the sounds that can happen.
Yeah.
So during a test, it would be kind of similar with the voice, except it can be maybe a little bit more distracting. I don't think machine writers get disqualified for being loud on their machines.
Thank
So,
God, because I beg on
yeah,
my machine. It's wild. I can't imagine that. Yeah.
yeah,
I need mine to be like the strongest resistance. You know what I mean? Because I'm just like, I don't know why that's the way that I write, but yeah, it is. No, actually, um, I got to take mine online. It's
Mhm.
like a proctored or whatever it is, which it's just a stressful process no matter what. I don't know, who loves testing, but I certainly didn't. It
Yeah.
was challenging, but yeah, luckily there was no one else in the room or anything like that. But it's just a lot of logistics too. If you have to go somewhere, you're already stressed out, but then you're just adding so much to it. But I mean, the technology may not have been there. So, like, that's what we had to do. That's what we had to do,
Mhm.
right? That's all there is to it.
I think that certification and that testing is just, it's different depending on where you're getting your testing done, I should say, because like I just tested for Texas CSR in November, and that was remote. So that was proctored online. So I
Okay.
think, but MVRA, the first level CVR that you do, that would be on site, and you have to pass that before you can get the higher certifications, and then those would be remote, I believe.
Okay. Cool.
Yep.
So how did the testing go? I mean, I feel like you were testing every for a minute there. It's like,
Yes, I was.
no, I mean, but that's great.
Yeah.
Either you're getting more certifications or you're not stopping if you have to do
Yep.
it again or what. I mean, I think it's great, right? You just got to look at the glasses half full. Um,
Yes. So I'm done with my skills in Texas. I just have to pass the written, and then yes, and then I'm done with all of my I just got notification that I passed my CVR, so I have that one, but I just don't, it's not been announced. So,
well, you just
yep.
did it, girl. That is amazing. Do you feel like a
Yeah.
million bucks? Oh my gosh, congratulations.
Yeah, yeah, it's one weight off the shoulder, but then you feel all the rest of it coming. So it's like phases, right? Like you accomplish one thing, but then there's always the next new learning curve or phase to go through. So,
Right,
yeah.
right. But it's only because you're ambitious,
Yeah.
and which is a
Yeah.
good thing. So what would you say to the young kids who are literally born with a computer in their hand?
I would say we need you. We need you a part of the conversation, no matter what stage of the learning you're in. There's never, I wouldn't say too early of a time to get involved and to sit and be just listening and learning and a part of those conversations, and give your lived experience input, even if you don't have voice writing, machine writing, digital recording, any of the proofreading, whatever the skill may be that's in the room. Even if you don't have those yet where you're comfortable speaking about it, I feel like your voice is still welcome, and it's needed, because that's how we move forward. And those things, um this environment with Star is just incredible, that there's so many, like I said, diverse people that can come together and have those conversations and talk about things that nobody else is willing to talk about. And I would say also to find your people, the people that support you, that check on you, and aren't, that kind of lift you up and give you that feel good go ahead, because you can get dragged down by people at the same time. So I feel like it's very important to find good people and good support group, and to move forward. And I feel like I've really found that at Star, even though there's not a lot of other voice writers, I can still get a lot of my questions answered in this environment and beyond. And I can still go back and share that with people through voice writing that are around me in other environments. So
Yeah.
it's really great.
Do you feel like the other voice writers are excited for you, are excited about the venture? I mean, is that it? Because I feel like voice writers are, I'm a stenographer by trade, but I I don't really align with a lot of the negativity. So I kind of feel like I'm like on this weird other side, like a black sheep maybe, which is
Mhm.
totally not true because most people are very,
It
positive,
feels that way. Yeah.
want the inclusivity, but does it feel like voice writers are on board?
It feels like they're becoming more aware about what STAR is. I think there was a lot of confusion in the last year since I've been a part of it. Like, what is she doing? Why is she over there having conversations with them when we need the help? Um, and my where my volunteer time goes, and why isn't it with voice writers? Why am I in this other space? Like, there, those are all things that I'm happy to answer, but I'm hearing it kind of kind of like in the background noise. But
Oh,
I
sure,
don't.
yeah.
But this is a great time to address it. I volunteer my time here because it makes sense. It makes me feel good. My ideas come to life here, and others accept that what I have to say, and I accept what they're bringing to the table at the same time. So I think there's a mutual respect. But um, I I don't. As far as voice writers being accepting, I feel like I've worked very hard to have those conversations with as many people as I can, and I share it socially for anyone who's on social type, like whether it's Instagram or Facebook or through phone calls, messaging that I have. I try to share it as much as I can, but I'm only one person. That's another reason that more voice writers to kind of join and have those conversations would be great, because then we can get more people to understand the truths that are a part of STAR, and not the misinformation that has been around and kind of floating, and kind of clouding up what people are doing here. And I really feel, because there was another, I've heard so many things that there's big firms, it's big money, that's all they care about, and then I'm like, whoa, like that's really scary. And then I turn the corner and I'm like, so I know you're a part of this firm. Can you tell me more about your perspective? And then they are more than welcoming to have those conversations and tell me, I manage in this firm, but I'm still a machine writer. I write every day, or I still care about the industry for these reasons, and I feel this way. And I think we just have to have those conversations. We have to stop putting blocks up and talking about each other, and just get together and with an open mind, and
Yeah,
care about where this industry goes first and foremost. So yeah,
yeah,
that forward thinking. Yeah.
well, it's crazy to me, because I know, through the grapevine about, the vitriol and stuff. Luckily, I don't see it firsthand, but it's so interesting because it's like, okay, but don't you work for a giant firm who
Mm-hmm.
uses all of these methods? Like, it's a very weird space for these, individuals who are, so I don't know, heels dug in, head in the sand, whatever analogy you want to use, but yeah, I do find that very interesting. Or it's like, these giant firms they have to fill their calendars, right? Like, we need reporters. There's opportunity out there, everybody. But like, then
Yep.
it's like you turn around and you're like, hey, can you sponsor us? And it's like, but you were just saying all of this means
Mm-hmm.
stuff. You know what I mean? So I'm very confused about what the big idea is, but I don't know.
I
It,
think it's just that's what fear does to people, especially with technology and not knowing where it's going, or when people don't want to advance their own skills, they just want to do what they're doing and get on with their life. Like, they don't want to have to think about possibly building a whole new skill to kind of incorporate what's ahead of us and what's currently in front of us. So like, I've seen different things with technology changing, and these software companies are like, we have been trying to talk to people and nobody really cares because they think it's just for digital, and that's not the case. And so then maybe we need to have a skilled human that's part of the, or people that are part of the voice writing digital and the machine writing communities and get together and have these conversations, which is going to happen at Unity Summit.
Yes,
I'm
it
quite
is.
positive of it. And talk about these technologies that nobody's ever seen before and be like, we need to get on top of this or we are just decimating our own futures. I can't be flowery about how I say that because it's the truth. I am concerned about where the future for all of us would be if we don't get on board with what's going on in technology. And if we just put a wall up and say, I'm not listening to it, where this is what we do, we're the best.
Right, for sure. And the thing about technology is it's there to help us, you know?
Yes.
I mean, I regularly use the same analogies because I feel like they have a very solid resonance, right? We can all relate to having a vacuum cleaner. You know what I mean? We can all relate to having a dishwasher, or most of us, I should say, should be considerate. But yeah, I mean, I run my Roomba twice a day. I don't want to vacuum anymore. You know what I mean? But it's like the
Yes.
vacuum companies are not out of business. You know what I mean? The cleaning industry, housekeepers are not out of business because there's
Right.
Roombas and dishwashers. You know what I mean? So that's just kind of where I find my sort of peace, I guess, is just that like
Yeah.
technology is there to help us, you know. But I think we're just glass half full kind of people, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? I wouldn't want to live my life any other way personally, but
Right. Right. Yes. I'm very excited for everything that's coming at Unity Summit because it's all of this stuff and more. And I can't wait to hear what all the minds have to say. So,
it's going to be wonderful, and I'm so looking forward to giving you a big hug. All
yes.
right, I said I was going to let you go 10 minutes ago. I know you have to feed your family, and I have a transcript to produce. So I really, really appreciate your time and just sitting and chatting with you. It's been lovely, and you are just a wonderful asset to this community. You're great. I can't say enough wonderful things about you.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate you asking. So, yeah,
Of
thank you
course.
so much. It's been a pleasure.
Same. All right. Well, we will chat with you soon. And thank you, everybody, for watching. We will see you next time.